Massachusetts on the Housatonic River. Going to do a little bit of Euronymphing down there, see if we can rake up some brown trout. In another episode of Fishing Historic Places, the Housatonic River has quite a history from the days of the Amerindian people all the way through the industrial age to the present deindustrialization, where the great General Electric plant up in Pittsfield has pretty much pulled out of the area and agreed to clean up the river. Now, the Housatonic is a river you don't want to be eating any fish out of. Catch and release areas really prevail there, and there's some seriously good fish to be had, along with some great local history. So, stick with me. We're going to check out the Housatonic River and hopefully some serious brown trout action.
So I'm in Housatonic, Massachusetts, and we're going to do a little bit of urban fishing, urban angling. The Housatonic River coming through a factory district here. The old Housatonic Mill's down the river a little bit. Right here, another mill. I'm not sure the name of this one, but it's still in operation across the river. And behind me, it's been turned into apartments or artists' lofts. That's usually what they like to do with old mills here. But even though we are in an urban environment, we are still swarming with poison ivy here. So remember that when you're out and about. It doesn't respect city limits. But this river's got some good fish in it. It's a little high because we've had some rain, but I expect to pull some, yeah, we'll see. I've caught some nice smallmouth in here, some trout, nice browns, there's pike, so we'll see. I got the Euronymph rod. I'm going to get out there and bring you some action. Now, the last time I was down here, which would be last year, and I came on a whim. I've always enjoyed growing up in West Springfield because West Springfield's got the factories. I've always done well in areas that a lot of people don't like fishing. And to me, fishing's about fishing. And fishing's about catching. And so the fish respond to areas that aren't heavily pressured, and a lot of guys don't want to fish. Oh, missed one. They don't want to fish around areas that they think are urbanized. They like that feeling of being in the out wild. I personally like to catch fish. I'll fish anywhere there's fish biting. Notice there's quite a hatch here today, so I'm going to have to maybe investigate the dry fly action in a little while. The river's definitely up. It's a little muddy. We'll see. I might have to put a heavier fly on. I'm not getting down like I want to. Got the Euronymph outfit going. There we go. There's a nice strip. Oh, and there was a hit. And there's a snag, which might get me to change what I'm using. Because I'll have to. No! Look! A little smallmouth came up, and he actually grabbed the top fly and got me off a snag. What a nice guy. See, I was stuck on my bottom, my anchor fly, and he came along and he hit the top fly and he got me off the snag. Happens once in a while, and I got it on film. A cooperative smallmouth who says, listen, and there he goes back in the water, listen, I don't want you dealing with snags, he said to me. I want you catching my brothers and sisters. I've gotten some big smallmouth out of here for a river, I'll tell you. That looks like a promising little drift right there, right along the edge in that slack water. Say the river's maybe 5 or 6 inches higher than last time I was in here. Get it out in that current again. Oop. Turned my head and one whacked it. I sometimes get, I think everybody does this with the Euronymph, you get a little too excited and you want to cover too much water too quick. Run the Euronymph through the area that you think looks good, right by your feet. Notice that I'm in the slack current, so I'm kind of dragging it along with me. Run it 3 or 4 times through that same area. Deconstruct the area. Make sure you're getting down. There we go. Somebody's on. Ho! And it's all about making sure that you're getting down. You got to get down. Oh, it's a feisty smallmouth. Key to Euronymphing. Oh, I'm not messing with him. I'm getting him right in. Key to Euronymphing is getting your anchor nymph to the bottom. And if you can do that, you're going to catch whatever's down there. In this case, a happy smallmouth. And we'll get him right off. Now, the great thing about fishing rivers that have got a lot of smallmouth, I will tell you, if you don't mind me telling you something, is that Euronymphing is a real feel operation. You know, you're not seeing it, you're feeling it. And let me tell you, it takes practice. You're watching that indicator, but watching it isn't just about sight. It's about feeling what it's doing on the bottom. You know, my anchor nymph is bouncing off rocks now and then. And when it stops, if it hesitates, if it backs up, if it moves in a funny way, side to side, I want to set the hook. So when you're fishing an area that's got a lot of smallmouth bass, it's really good practice for trout water. You will get a little bit more confident in the approach. And I think honestly that confidence is the secret to fishing any presentation, any tackle, any bait. If you think it's going to work, that's what it's going to do. Giving it a little more juice right there. What I've done this year with my Euronymph setup is I've gone to mono. This reel has no fly line on it. I'm using 4-pound test mono. It's a bicolor mono. Mixture of brown and orange, so low vis and high vis. And it allows me to let my nymphs get to the bottom and maintain a visual on the progress of their drift. Oh, there was one. There was a hit. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to let some line out. Oh, I got a bigger smallmouth this time because I let it get down in the water there. This guy's feisty. I don't want him to get out in the current. He is bad. This is about a pound fish, which isn't a huge bass if you're used to catching them on spinning tackle, but on a fly rod, it's a little bit of a beast. He's an arrogant son of a gun, an arrogant cuss. I'm actually going down current with him. I caught one last year. I had to chase him
almost to the bridge to get him in. Oh, now I got a double. Now I have two. There's two fish on my Euronymph setup right now. See? Because we have two flies, so the big one must have basically fired up the smaller one. So we're going two for the price of one. Look at this. Two. So, to get off the first one, the bigger one, he's not a pound, but he's a nice fish. Now we'll get off the second one. Nice. And what we're using, you can see I got a double bead, little one I tied myself. It's on a jig head. And up top, got a crazy little, what do you call that? That's a, what's the name of it? That's an emerger. It's a worm emerger. So the whole secret there was, I let those nymphs get down in the current. So we have two things working for us here. Not only are we looking at a catch and release artificial lures only area, but here we don't eat the fish. So here on the Housatonic River there are two of these areas. And I've not fished this one before, so this is going to be a learning experience. There's a railroad trestle, looks like some nice white water under it, and a big pool beyond. So I'm going to go down there. That's probably where I'm going to spend the rest of my my evening here. So let's check it out. I've been a fan of crossing tracks my whole life. People will tell me that I was born on the wrong side of one. Ha! That's not true at all, but some nice looking water down there. You can see right here, we've got a nice tumble. This is good Euronymphing water, out of pocket water. And then we have pools, and I'll tell you, I'm expecting some action, but then again, it just rained and the water's high, so I guess I shouldn't hold my breath. This is like Euronymph heaven right here. The only thing that's going to screw me up is depth. The fish might be on. The smallmouth were certainly on down below a little. Housatonic is literally 2 miles down the road from where we are right now where this railroad crosses. There we go. Brown trout. Brown trout. Keep them in tight. So the brown trout, he was definitely, you know what I did? I left my vest in the truck, so I have no net. This is genius. It's in the back of the truck. I'm going to have to make a walk back up there, so I have no net for this guy. But then again, what would fishing be without moments of stupidity? So we're not going to be able to net this guy. We're going to have to hand him in. Alright, he's not huge, but he's not a small guy. Notice I wet my hands. I always wet my hands before I take the fish. And he does that thing Browns do. Nice fat little guy. There he is. And back in the water. So the brown trout are cooperating. I'm just an idiot. I got to go get my vest. So I will put this down with the other rods and be back in a moment. So after a brief interlude, I'm back. The truck is literally 100 yards away, but you got to cross the tracks to get to it. So I pick up the Euronymph rod again. Now I will have my net at least. And that's a good thing. I literally reached behind me and I'm like, oh, better get the net. And there was no net. Much to my chagrin, as they say. About the Housatonic River, there's a lot of wild brown trout in here. that haven't been stocked. While they do stock it, there's a lot of holdovers because this river keeps its level pretty well. It stays deep. Next time I come to this spot, I'm going to walk down the railroad tracks and work my way up this shore. There we go. There we go. There's another brown trout. Yep. You see him? He's in the water. He's doing his thing. I don't know how big he is. Oh, he's not a big one. He's like about the size of the last one. And he's down there. There he is. Oh yeah. No, he's a little smaller. I'll get him up. I'll get him in the net. There he is. You see Mr. Brown. Little brown trout. And I quickly pop him off. And I'm going to show him to you. Wet my hands. Remember, always wet your hands. I'm going to pick him up. Show you Mr. Brown. They're very pretty, the brown. Now, if he was a brookie, he'd have white fence. Sometimes people get browns and brookies confused. There he is. Smile, boy. Back in the river. So on this shoreline, in 30 yards, not even 60 feet, 2 reasonable browns, which is telling me that if I slow down and I prospect this right, and I keep that nymph close to the bottom like I'm doing now, and let it find, there's another one. There's another one. You see that? So, oh, it's a smallmouth, and he spits me out, that little weasel. So my problem early on was not letting the nymph get deep enough. So I got to get this nymph down into the little pockets on the bottom of the river. Because the river has these little dimples in the bottom, you know, behind a rock, where a rock moved, and there's very little current there. And these smallmouth and, of course, the browns like that because they can ambush predators. You know, they're ambush predators. They can ambush their prey in those neat little spots. You can see me getting a little crazy. I'm reaching way out there, and I don't need to. I caught him right here. He was right in front of me. And the smallmouth too. After I slowed down. So, prospecting here for the first time fishing this area. You know, make it work. Do it right. Don't get too aggressive. You don't know the area that well yet. So this area, clearly, the bank's a little deeper here. The water's a little bit high. And the trout are in here, and they're feeding.